不想被灭杀，
这个翻身的机会，
就继续努力吧。
超脱轮回的机会，
我
们东帝圣地就看你的了。难道要直接进入传承吗？
很开心，
该是我神眼族的。
只是我一位通关，此事与传承无。
该是我神眼族的。
现在的请求罢了。
我复仇的时刻了。
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Al Rasta channel. Here, I will share spoilers for SwallowedStar episode 239. Just a quick reminder, this breakdown is based on the novel, so expect some slight differences from the Donghua version. Alright, without further ado, let's dive right into the story. After Luofeng reached the 1001st stage of the Rhinoceros Emperor game, the silence in the life and death corridor was finally broken when Duandong River's figure appeared in the air. He announced that Luofeng had officially met the first baseline requirement for solving the game. Luofeng then stepped out of the Star Tower and was instantly protected by a golden, palace-shaped dome of light created by Duandong River. The Master of the Inheritance gave a stern warning that anyone who dared to attack Luofeng would be wiped out on the spot. Duandong River's strict order to eliminate anyone who messed with Luofeng suddenly sparked panic and massive outrage among the candidates from the 3 reincarnation eras in the 2 Holy Lands. Major factions like the Purple Moon Holy Land, including Luchong Master, realized just how dangerous this situation was, since Luofeng was the first to meet the basic requirements of the Rhinoceros Emperor game. Even though some groups considered a reckless plan to kill Luofeng and stop the rise of the human race, they ultimately decided to hold back. They knew the Shadowy Palace's defense was impossible to break, and the threat of their era's extinction was getting closer. Duandong River then warned all the fighters that the protective dome around Luofeng couldn't be destroyed by anyone, so attacking him would only result in a pointless death. He also laid out the ultimate challenge. Anyone who could solve up to the 6000th stage would instantly receive the complete inheritance. This number felt completely absurd to top-tier fighters like the second true master of the Divine Eye clan, who had only managed to reach the 1005th stage, while the 7th true master was still stuck at the 1000th stage bottleneck. After encouraging Luofeng to keep solving the next stages, Duandong River vanished, leaving behind a massive uproar in the life and death corridor. Seeing the hateful glares and killing intent from the enemy universe masters, Luofeng actually reacted provocatively without a single ounce of fear. Knowing his enemies didn't dare to touch him anymore for fear of execution, Luofeng calmly sat cross-legged under the hazy golden shadow palace to focus on his comprehension process. Seeing the giant defensive aura enveloping Luofeng, the candidates from the first reincarnation era and the 2 Holy Lands could only swallow their frustration and glare at him with pure hatred. Luofeng officially became public enemy number 1, accused of crushing the other faction's hopes of transcending the reincarnation cycle. However, Luofeng chose to ignore all those threats and firmed up his resolve that this precious inheritance from Duandong River had to fall completely into his hands. The news of Luofeng successfully passing the basic requirements was immediately met with joy by the higher-ups of the human race in the virtual universe. Powerful figures like Huge Axe Creator, Primal Chaos City Leader, Darkness Master, Ice Mountain Master, Yuho Master, and Longyan Master all showed up to congratulate him. They emphasized that Luofeng's achievement was the most valuable opportunity in the history of the human race to surpass the dominance of the 2 Holy Lands in the future. In the corner of that virtual room, Ancestor Yuan once again observed the interactions of the human race's higher-ups without being detected by anyone. As a figure held back by the eternal suppression of the original universe, Ancestor Yuan felt a sense of sorrow since he could only watch his race's struggles from the shadows. Even so, the creator of the virtual universe refused to give up on fate and kept using his time to study the Rhinoceros Emperor game, looking for a chance to fight back right up until the last second. Back inside the boat of Mausoleum, the situation in the corridor slowly calmed down, and Luofeng started putting together a new learning strategy. He split his consciousness, 80% on the Rhinoceros Emperor game and 20% on studying the mysteries of secret techniques, as well as sharpening his willpower. By holding himself back at the Universe Venerable level to keep his advantage in this selection, Luofeng continued to optimize the creation of the deadliest secret technique combinations to secure the ultimate inheritance. All the major powers in the universe ocean realized that the competition in the life or death corridor inside the boat of Mausoleum in the blazing ice region had become a crucial, silent battlefield. A new glimmer of hope appeared when Duandong River showed up again and announced the second candidate who had met the basic requirements for the Rhinoceros Emperor game, Blue Blood, a universe venerable from the East Emperor Holy Land. This revelation shocked everyone, including Luofeng, because a mid-level fighter actually managed to hit the basic score requirement faster than the majority of the universe masters. Venerable Blue Blood immediately received the exact same hazy golden shadow palace protection as Luofeng, guaranteeing his safety from all kinds of enemy attacks. This success by a universe venerable sparked the anger of top fighters like the second true master, who felt humiliated for being beaten to the punch. But for Luofeng, the arrival of a new competitor actually served as a motivational whip to keep solving more stages. He realized that his current lead was still very slim and that he needed a much more dominant result. At the East Emperor Holy Land headquarters, the personal appearance of the ancestor surprised all the inhabitants of the Holy Land because he confirmed that there were different qualification standards based on a candidate's power level. The ancestor ordered them to send more universe venerables and immortal fighters, especially strong candidates who were stuck and couldn't become universe masters due to the limited capacity of their miniature universe. These high-class candidates had true god-level determination and willpower, which was a huge advantage in solving those complex puzzles. Entering the 800th year since Luofeng started the third test, Duandong River appeared again and announced the third candidate to pass, Remote Snow, an immortal fighter from the bug race. This confirmation made the selection pattern even clearer. The Immortal Fighter and Universe Venerable levels had a much lower threshold for solving stages. Not long after, Yuzan became the first Universe Master from the East Emperor Holy Land to pass in the 1100th year after Luofeng, followed by Lu Chong Master, who also managed to join the ranks of the protected candidates. Time kept ticking until almost 3,000 years had passed inside the life or death corridor, where rows of golden shadow palaces started filling the room as more candidates managed to break through the qualifications. A total of 62 candidates had secured their spots, including Peng Gong Master, who represented the human race. However, a unique phenomenon occurred where not a single one of the 7 true gods on the scene was able to meet the basic requirements, leaving these supreme rulers feeling desperate about the level of difficulty placed on them. The tension among the supreme rulers finally broke when Duandong River showed up again to announce the 63rd candidate to pass. That person was Tibu Demon Master from the first reincarnation era, who became the first true god to successfully pass the grueling test. This success brought a wave of relief mixed with disbelief among the strongest fighters, proving that it wasn't impossible for the true god level to break through the Rhinoceros Emperor game selection. It was revealed that a true god had to solve at least 2,000 stages just to hit the minimum threshold, which was double that of the power levels below them. This harsh reality highlighted just how strict and fair the selection system designed by Duandong River was in searching for a true heir. With more and more candidates from various factions getting protected inside the corridor, the fierce competition for this ancient civilization's inheritance entered a tense new phase. The number of candidates who managed to break through the minimum threshold of the Rhinoceros Emperor game inside the boat of Mausoleum kept skyrocketing until it neared 70 people. Various factions in the universe ocean, especially the East Emperor Holy Land, started feeling optimistic, thinking that Luofeng's early lead was slowly chipping away as more fighters passed the initial stage. The growing number of competitors briefly triggered some anxiety among the higher-ups of the human race in the virtual universe, including the Primal Chaos City leader and Darkness Master. Despite this, Hujack's creator chose to stay calm. He asked all the human higher-ups not to put extra pressure on him and to just let Luofeng fight without any outside stress. Paying no mind to the distractions around him, Luofeng applied a new learning strategy in the virtual universe by combining his comprehension of the Rhinoceros Emperor game with the analysis of secret techniques from the diagrams in the 9th Deep Abyss. This comparative method, paired with the honing of his willpower, proved to be highly effective. It made his deduction speed skyrocket, allowing him to solve the 2000th stage in just a span of 500 years. This incredible progress didn't escape the notice of Ancestor Yuan, who was secretly watching Luofeng closely. The Ancestor realized that each power level had a different bottleneck level, and the fact that Luofeng was able to break through this massive hurdle in such a short time only increased his chances of transcending the reincarnation cycle in the future. After 3,000 years had passed in the life and death corridor, the silence was suddenly shattered when Duandong River reappeared with a face full of joy. In front of the nearly 100,000 gathered candidates, the Master of the Inheritance officially announced that the Milky Way Horde leader had successfully broken through the second bottleneck, reaching a whole new level of comprehension. As a marker of this achievement, the crystal pillar next to Luofeng shot out a red beam that merged with the golden aura, transforming the structure of Luofeng's Shadow Palace into a magnificent red-gold palace. Duandong River then explained the candidate hierarchy, which was divided into peripheral candidates, elite candidates, core candidates, and finally, heirs. Luofeng's status had now officially been upgraded to an elite candidate. Duandong River's warning that Luofeng's elite candidate status increased his chances of passing by hundreds of times instantly triggered severe anxiety among the other factions. While his enemies were stressed out by this reality, Luofeng calmly steadied his mind to quickly conquer the next stages and absolutely secure the title of heir. Time rolled on until the 5,200th year since Luofeng took on the inheritance test, and the wave of candidates managing to break the first bottleneck finally hit a plateau. Out of tens of thousands of participants, only 298 candidates made it through, including all 7 true gods and some universe masters and universe venerables. Duandong River looked a bit disappointed with the limits of the majority of the participants. Meanwhile, Luofeng, safe inside his red gold palace, stayed calm and consistently stuck to his own learning methods. Another surprise happened when Blue Blood Venerable, a universe venerable from the East Emperor Holy Land, managed to match Luofeng's achievement by breaking through the second bottleneck. Duandong River immediately granted him the protection of a grand, glowing red and gold palace, putting him on the same level as Luofeng as an elite candidate. This event was met with cheers of joy and incredible enthusiasm from the entire East Emperor Holy Land faction, who felt their chances had suddenly blown wide open. That achievement became an emotional turning point for Blue Blood Venerable, who had been living with limitations as a stuck universe master candidate due to his race's Holy Land capacity limit, a direct promise from the East Emperor ancestor, who was willing to guide him to become a true god and break through the reincarnation cycle, suddenly reignited his youthful fighting spirit. With burning determination, Blue Blood Venerable bet his entire soul, potential, and wisdom to seize this golden opportunity that could alter his destiny. In a separate location, specifically in the black striped stone pillars area, Luofeng's Mosha body was undergoing extreme training to hone his willpower. Under the pressure of an incredibly overwhelming killing aura that forced his physical form back to its original state, Luofeng relentlessly tempered his soul until it reached a critical point. Through a roar of determination that burned past his limits, Luofeng finally triggered an explosive mental transformation that freed his soul from its deepest shackles. This transformation officially launched Luofeng's willpower level until it successfully surpassed that of a true god. Under the influence of his new willpower, he could now withstand time acceleration of up to 12,000 times before finally deciding to settle in a very comfortable 6,000 times acceleration zone. This boost in willpower acted like a supreme commander, drastically multiplying his soul's thinking speed and analytical power, providing a much more solid foundation for mastering the inheritance's knowledge. Armed with his newly metamorphosed willpower, Luofeng once again centered all his focus on diving into the Rhinoceros Emperor game and analyzing the secret techniques from the diagrams in the Ninth Deep Abyss. His thought process was now filled with bursts of inspiration that crashed into one another and connected harmoniously, making his learning efficiency soar. The perfect synergy between mastering the diagram patterns and understanding the secret techniques allowed Luofeng to crack every puzzle at an unbelievable speed. Inside the virtual universe, Ancestor Yuan was left stunned as he watched Luofeng effortlessly clear the first 3,000 stages of the Rhinoceros Emperor game in such a short amount of time. This fantastic achievement, which was originally predicted to take tens of thousands of years, was shattered by Luofeng thanks to his combination of high-level willpower and his comparative method. With a confident smile on his face, Luofeng stood in front of the virtual puzzle's projection, further cementing his dominance as the strongest soul candidate to receive Duandong River's inheritance. The atmosphere in the life and death corridor suddenly turned chaotic when Luofeng managed to complete the 3,000th stage of the Rhinoceros Emperor game. A shower of icy cold blue light specks suddenly fell, summoning a third crystal pillar that formed a majestic 3-color dome of gold, red, and blue around Luofeng. This fantastic milestone officially marked his success in breaking through the third bottleneck, skyrocketing his status to a core candidate and putting Luofeng miles ahead of competitors like Water Song Master and Blue Blood Venerable. Luofeng's success in breaking this third boundary brought deep despair to the candidates from the first reincarnation era, like the 7th True Master and the Yan Beast race fighters. They realized their race's last chance to survive the reincarnation apocalypse was fading away. At the same time, Duandong River's figure appeared in white armor, unable to hold back tears of emotion. The Master of the Inheritance mourned his past sins that led to the extinction of his lineage, but felt incredibly grateful to finally find an exceptionally talented heir candidate like Luofeng, who could break through the third bottleneck in just a single era. Duandong River declared that anyone who could reach the fourth bottleneck would instantly be crowned the rightful heir, while the rest of the candidates would be wiped out. Duandong River then set an absolute time limit of 3 eras for all candidates to keep solving the Rhinoceros Emperor game. This decision sparked massive panic, jealousy, and extreme hatred within the selection room. It even pushed a few Universe Masters to recklessly attack Luofeng, though they were instantly turned to dust by the 3-color dome's protection. Inside the virtual universe, Ancestor Yuan was amazed to see the acceleration of Luofeng's comprehension. It was developing rapidly, like the process of forging iron into high-quality steel over tens of thousands of years of accelerated time. Ancestor Yuan pondered the unique toughness of the Earthling lineage's souls, which was all thanks to the engineering of a mysterious figure named Zuo Shanke. Even for Ancestor Yuan, who created the virtual universe, Zuo Shanke's motives and long-term plans in the universe ocean remained a massive, unsolvable mystery. As the 3-era time limit grew closer, the competition heated up even more when Blue Blood Venerable from the East Emperor Holy Land poured his heart and soul into successfully catching up and breaking through the third bottleneck. This moment made him the only close competitor acknowledged by Duandong River to challenge Luofeng. Meanwhile, Luofeng, who had managed to solve up to the 3911th stage, stayed perfectly calm. He maintained supreme confidence thanks to his foundation of willpower and his comprehension of secret techniques, which had reached a terrifyingly high level. When the 3-era time limit ran out, Duandong River officially closed the Rhinoceros Emperor game selection phase. The final results: only 2 candidates reached the third bottleneck, 5 hit the second bottleneck, and 292 reached the first bottleneck, showing absolutely zero mercy to the thousands of participants begging for extra time. Duandong River ruthlessly executed the rules. He swept away nearly 10,000 candidates who failed to break the first bottleneck with a highly destructive blast of golden light, wiping them out in the blink of an eye until less than 300 participants were left. After the mass slaughter was over, the giant gates leading to the main hall finally opened up to guide the participants, including Luofeng, Blue Blood Venerable, Lu Chong Master, Sorcerer Sprite Master, Water Song Master, Remote Snow, Yuzan Master, and the 7 True Gods to start receiving Duandong River's true inheritance. At the exact same time in the virtual realm, Ancestor Yuan casually stopped his deduction process right before the time limit ended, having secretly managed to solve up to the 6,000-second stage. A total of 299 candidates stepped into the dimly lit hall of the ancient palace, where Duandong River was already waiting on his throne to reveal the process for receiving the true inheritance. Most of the participants who had only managed to pass the first hurdle realized their chances were incredibly slim, so they just hoped to steal a bit of valuable info about clues to transcend reincarnation before escaping that dangerous place. Before kicking off the main phase, Duandong River paused everything to ask a specific question to the 7 True Gods present. He emphasized that top-tier fighters had miniature universe structures that were already set in stone. Because of this, if the architecture of their small universes didn't meet the high standards of the ancient civilization, they would be immediately disqualified from the selection. That sudden question about universe architecture triggered panic among the True Gods, to the point where some of them, like Tiabu Demon Master and the 2nd True Master, recklessly made up complex stories about their universe structures. However, Duandong River's sharp intellect saw through all those lies and fabricated designs effortlessly, proving that the foundation of the universes they had built was actually very basic and messy. Duandong River ultimately and officially rejected all the True Gods because he considered them underqualified and lacking the potential to receive the inheritance. Luofeng and the rest of the participants finally understood why major factions like the 2 Holy Lands never bothered to send True God-level fighters since the very beginning of the inheritance selection. Another massive shocker dropped when Duandong River suddenly announced that all members of the Divine Eye clan were declared unqualified and destined to be executed on the spot. This cold-blooded decision immediately sparked absolute panic and confusion among all the candidates present, including Luofeng, Luchong Master, and Blue Blood Venerable. Reacting to the execution threat, the seventh True Master quickly whipped out a supreme true treasure in the shape of the Ice Cliff Fortress, so that the 28 Divine Eye clan candidates could rush inside and take cover. From behind that impenetrable fortress, the Divine Eye clan fighters vented their fury, accusing Duandong River of being discriminatory and applying double standards to their faction. Responding to the fierce protests and desperation coming from inside the defensive fortress, Duandong River stayed completely ice-cold without showing a hint of hesitation. He casually explained that the death penalty and absolute rejection for all Divine Eye clan members was simply a way of keeping a personal promise and repaying a favor he owed to an old friend from the past. Duandong River's sudden decision to disqualify and hand down a death sentence to the Divine Eye clan sparked widespread panic and explosive rage across their entire miniature universe. The faction's higher-ups were completely shell-shocked and refused to accept that all their hard work had been cut off just to grant a request from the Ancient Master's mysterious friend. Inside the Ice Cliff Fortress, the 28 trapped Divine Eye clan candidates could only bottle up their deep frustration while wondering about the identity of the hidden enemy, who held such a massive grudge against their faction. The curiosity of all the fighters in the hall was finally answered when Duandong River opened a secret passage, revealing the friend in question, the Thundercoat Devil God. This entity's appearance left Luofeng and all the factions from the Universe Ocean absolutely dumbfounded. The thing is, all this time, the Thundercoat Devil God was just a lone true god from the second reincarnation era who always kept a very low profile and didn't possess a supreme true treasure. So no one ever suspected him of being the mastermind behind the Divine Eye clan's downfall. In front of the shocked candidates, the Thundercoat Devil God unleashed the deep-seated grudge he had been holding against the Divine Eye clan for ages. Back in the day, his best friend named Kong Luo died tragically after being ganged up on by the Divine Eye clan's higher-ups just to steal a supreme true treasure, while he was forced to flee and bear the humiliation. Using his often underestimated status to his advantage, he put together a flawless revenge plan to push the strongest faction into the abyss of despair right when they were at the peak of their hopes. It was revealed that the Thundercoat Devil God was actually the very first explorer to find and enter the boat of Mausoleum, way before any of the other factions arrived. He used his early head start to strike a special deal with Duandong River to get his personal revenge. Luckily for him, Luofeng's brilliant performance in solving the Rhinoceros Emperor game successfully stopped the Divine Eye clan from taking the top spot, allowing the execution plan for all the clan's members to go off without a hitch. The destruction of the Ice Cliff Fortress in the Abyss proved just how terrifying the ancient civilization's technology was. Far beyond the comprehension of today's Universe Ocean fighters, Luofeng realized that what was considered an unrivaled supreme true treasure in the current era actually held a completely different power level in the eyes of a high-tier existence like Duandong River, much like the mystery of the damage his Shiwu wings had suffered in the past. Another major shock came when 3 precious treasures belonging to the victims were extracted from the depths of the abyss and handed directly to the Thundercoat Devil God. These 3 valuable objects consisted of a miniature version of the Ice Cliff Fortress, a true god sector, and a super rare Phantom Heart Pearl. Handing over these treasures served as undeniable proof to all the participants in the hall that the 2 supreme rulers, the 2nd True Master and the 7th True Master, were completely dead inside that fortress. The Thundercoat Devil God quickly soulbound and took ownership of the Phantom Heart Pearl and the Ice Cliff Fortress, which suited his illusion techniques perfectly. His immense gratitude and a massive spike in power completely flipped the script. The Thundercoat Devil God was now a lethal threat to the remnants of the Divine Eye clan out there, while Duandong River got ready to shift his full attention to starting the final phase. Before going any further, Duandong River coldly warned that this inheritance merging process would pose an absolute, fatal threat to the participants' souls, extending even to all of their clone bodies. Because his lineage's inheritance method required an intact soul to practice, failing the next test would lead to permanent soul annihilation across the entire universe, with 0 chance of resurrection. Duandong River then gave a final chance for anyone who wanted to back out before they actually touched the core of the inheritance. This warning of absolute death made a lot of fighters choose to withdraw to save their lives and return their faction's treasures. This included Peng Gong Master from the human race, who was ordered to retreat by the Huge Axe creator since their race's fight was already being represented by Luofeng. A total of 6 true gods, along with dozens of other fighters, rushed out to leave the area through the main corridor before the giant gates were firmly shut again. Out of the hundreds of initial participants, only 236 iron-willed candidates remained, ready to gamble their entire lives. They were all well aware that 235 of them were guaranteed to be wiped out, leaving only one true heir behind. With burning determination for the glory of their respective factions, the 236 candidates stepped forward without hesitation, following Duandong River's lead. The stone wall behind the main throne slowly split apart, opening a gate to the space of inheritance. A special, fragrant, and mysterious realm that served as the sacred ground for every generation's Duandong River Master to pass on the throne of their legacy. Then what happened next? Alright, thanks for watching until the very end, and don't forget to keep supporting this channel by leaving a comment, dropping a like, and subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, bye.